book does everything except maybe light pollution, which is when there's too much light, like this. And light pollution can be confusing because like wildlife gets lost and stuff. Wildlife is used in navigating. Your book has all the other stuff. The famous example of the light pollution problem is the little sea turtles in like Florida and the coast of Mexico resort cities, where like they come out of the ground and they're looking for the reflection of the moonlight on the ocean, which looks a whole lot like a city in the distance. So instead of walking into the ocean, they walk into the highway and get run over or eaten by dogs or whatever. Yeah, yeah. It's super sad. There's like photos of dogs in Florida, like with like their little stash of baby sea turtles that walk their own direction. Silly sea turtle. Yeah, they're full. Yeah, sea turtles. I want to do that. Who else? Other questions? No other questions, eh? So, somebody tell me about the most pointless hoarding you've ever heard of. You know, hoarding. What?
Like people hoard
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, humans. You know, like your grandmother with clothes or whatever. Yes. By she, you mean your actual grandmother? Yeah, yeah. It's funny that old people are more likely to hoard. They've been around longer, so they see more stuff. Can't figure out what the value is.
That's scary.
Dang, dog. God forbid someday, you know, we all die. Who's going to clean that up? You know what I'm saying? Probably you.
You could just throw it all on eBay.
My buddy inherited his grandfather's, speaking of elephant, inherited his grandfather's elephant tusk collection. Trying to figure out how to sell it legally, it just became illegal to sell it. So his grandfather built like a $2 million inheritance for his family, and now it's not even worth the cardboard box it's in.
Unless he wants to go to like,
Black market?
yeah.
Of course, I would never say that he was going to go black market. It was being videotaped and being broadcast on the internet. So that's what I would do.
You take it to like China and be like, money.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to take it to China.
Oh.
But yeah. What else? Anybody else know a hoarder? I can't believe there's only one. Yes. Okay, so is that hoarding if he's using them for something stupid?
No.
Oh, then he hoards the trophies? Okay, oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah.
Well, Adrian and I were chatting. You told me that on the TLC show, you know, the one who's like, this one hoarders, everything guy, hoarder.
This is Learning, everyone. The Learning Channel.
There was a guy who hoarded Black Santas. Yeah, like little figure candy.
That's really weird. But that's awesome.
Maybe that's just a collection. Maybe it's an investment plan. Maybe he wants to buy them all, raise the demand, and then sell them all.
It was like a family down.
My kids had everything I have.
Just like being in the house and still Black Santas.
Racist. What else?
My grandpa's a hoarder. He has like 1 storage units of just stuff, but he has 20 in the box vacuum cleaners.
Whoa. Does your grandfather see this as an investment?
No.
Wait,
My grandpa's a hoarder. He has like a bunch of storage units just for like his junk. And he has like 20 vacuum cleaners. Just sitting in the storage unit. That's like among other things.
Why does your grandfather keep all that crap?
I have no idea.
Well, do you think he thinks it's garbage and useless?
Probably thinks that he like
Yeah.
but I don't think
What else? Yeah.
My dad just pulled his paper away. He's like, you can't get rid
It's one of the most common horrors. Yeah, paper.
And then
People will get buried under their own newspapers. You ever heard that one? Crazy hoarder fires, where people don't want to go in there because once you light a house full of newspaper, it's very hard to make the fire go out. Because the fire is burning through the paper, it's inside the paper, so it's like especially dangerous. Like one of the worst types of arson fire is if you light a hoarder's house on fire that has a lot of paper. It's almost impossible to put the fire out.
my house.
What's that?
My house.
Okay, dog. Yeah. No way. What did that guy have in his house? Hey, check this out. What did he have? What do you remember? A room of books? Like, wait, books along the walls? Like solid book. This sounds really good. What do you do with all that meat? Was it foul? Thank God. Can anybody tell me why all these hoarders keep all this stuff? Because they what?
Think they'll become useful in later time.
Right. I mean, we all agree, we know what crazy is, right? It's the stuff that other people do, right? And so all these other people, the stuff that they're keeping is useless. The stuff I'm keeping is not useless. I'm not a hoarder. They're all hoarders. My house currently has like 40,000 fish hooks. I probably have like 15,000 rounds of 22 LR ammunition. Well, it might be useful someday. I got a Jeep, whatever. I'll just hold on to it. I got space.
50 wetsuits too.
What's that?
You see, you got like 50 wetsuits.
Yep. Those might be useful someday. See? They actually might. Somebody shares my crazy. The only difference between what you do and other people do is you just think that they're crazy.
That's all stuff you can use. Like you can't use old plastic bottles.
You can totally use little plastic bottles.
I mean, I use a bunch of technology.
You can totally use blue elephant figurines.
Or this.
Yeah, you can look at them, you can throw them at intruders. You could make them into a cake and choke your opponent. See? Cats!
Yeah.
They're called crazy cat ladies and it's toxoplasmosis.
They have like
A parasite.
That
That one. So the poo carries something that makes you have an affinity for the urine of cats to deliver the parasite to its next host. Toxoplasmosis.
So crazy cat hoarders.
It's an actual sickness. They are suffering the effect of a zombie-making parasite called toxoplasmosis. Something like 85% of Americans have it, and we don't know it. No, Europeans? Is it Europeans that have it and Americans don't? Everybody has to Google this. It's fascinating. Toxoplasmosis parasite. Yeah. Crazy cat lady, yeah.
No, I had pretty much a crazy cat lady stop me on the street in New York City because I was wearing a Santa Barbara shirt and like grabbed me and was like, I bought one of my 37 cats in Santa Barbara. And I felt compelled to cover
Crazy cat ladies are actually crazy.
3 million cases per year in the US. This is killing. This is
So toxoplasmosis, if you just look into the disease, it can cause, I think it can cause miscarriage. That's why pregnant women aren't supposed to change the cat litter. We had a cat when my wife was pregnant with the first one. And that was the only thing I hated about my wife's pregnancy, is I never wanted the cats in the first place. And then, of course she was pregnant, so she took me the cat litter, and I was like, I don't want cats anymore. He's like, well, they're part of our family. I was like, they're part of your family. I never wanted these stupid things. She's like, well, I can't clean the cat litter. I'm like, it's not my fault. Oh, yeah, it's my fault. It's like, fine. And so, yeah, I have clean cat litter. Toxoplasmosis, you gotta look this up. The stuff the parasite does, it makes rats suicidal. Because the parasite can only grow in cats, but it's carried by rats. Obviously, rats are afraid of cats. So in order for the parasite to reach the cat needs to eat the rat. So the parasite makes the rat like cat piss. Rats are usually deathly afraid of cats, so the parasite inside the rat will never reach the final host. But the parasite tweaks the brain of the rat, so he's like, oh, cat piss, I love this. And the cats literally feed themselves, the rats feed themselves to the cats. Humans get it. Humans get it. So we become fond of cats. This is like 100% you cutting edge parasitology. If you're not finding information, you're not looking well enough. Trust me. National Geographic last month had an awesome video. Look at National Geographic Toxoplasmosis.
So wait, the main reason for these cat ladies are crazy is because they have a cat that has.
Very likely. Very likely. By the way, it's believed that this might be one of the leading explanations for why we have so much, what's it called? Not manic depression, but what do 25-year-olds get? Schizophrenia. The symptoms are just like schizophrenia. So it's possible, like the rats have schizophrenia, by the way, when they feed themselves to the cats. They're like erratic and not sensible, and they don't feel pain, and like they like go through the dangerous positions. Yeah, you have to research this. It's like totally mind blowing. But don't research this right now. Put your phones away. You can do this another time. Just open another page. You'll save this one in your Safari windows. Believe it or not, the hoarding thing was actually getting me somewhere, and there's a reason I'm doing this, I swear. I was trying to identify something in hoarding. I want everybody to notice a pattern. Hoarders save stuff they think will be useful, but they never use it. Now, Heidi's eating yogurt. Yogurt looks so gross when you get to the bottom of the Tupperware. My children eat yogurt. And then I always bring back their Tupperware, like I do the dishes at night. And like the Tupperware of the remains of the yogurt is so foul. Like yogurt's so good, it's like, oh, it's so tasty. And then at the bottom, it's like, what's happening there? Okay, so Heidi's eating yogurt. For the sake of conversation, I want to make up some numbers, and I want everybody to remember them. She ate 20 grams of sugar, 200 calorie serving. Okay? Everybody got that? Tomorrow, has Heidi grown by 200 calories? Has she built up Heidi's stores of 20 grams of sugar? No, the answer is no. Because what happened? What? God, you mumble and then you whisper and then you talk to the back of her head.
90% of that is used in like energy things, and only 10% of it is retained in storage. Is that correct?
That's generally right. And by the way, those numbers are like a lifetime thing. So most of that is during the period of her growth. Once she's done growing, she's not really keeping 10% anymore. That's why our metabolism slow down. Because we're using that storage up front to grow and make human. And once you've made 180 pounds of sex appeal, you don't need to keep growing. So note, Heidi's 20 grams of sugar got digested to release those 200 calories of energy. She used them to run around and do sleazy high school girl stuff that we don't want to think about. She breathed out all of the carbon in the form of CO2, and she urinated out all of the oxygen and hydrogen in the form of water. Maybe she breathed out that water. Everybody knows that, right? Her cells, they're simple. They were built for a different environment. Whenever they see sugar, they absorb it, they digest it. Please look up. They breathe out the carbon attached to oxygen, and then they either breathe out or urinate out the water. Everybody know that? But sometimes, please look up, your stupid cells take in the wrong stuff. What happens to this? Is there a metabolic pathway inside of Heidi to digest methylated mercury? Have you all heard of like an energy reaction? Any metabolic reaction that uses methylated mercury? No, you haven't, because there isn't. When Heidi takes in that stuff, like a hoarder, the cells think it's useful, but it's not. Get ready to write down some notes. Man, that was so fun, getting my kids up in the tree. Check this out. Heidi's eating yogurt. You'll notice that when Heidi eats the yogurt, the squares disappear. Why do the squares disappear? Why do the squares disappear? And then what happens? She digested them, right? Which means she used what she was going to use and got rid of the rest, right? You understand that? No. I sort of thought about it, and somebody else made it. I managed it. I like it. Or I intimidate people, or manipulate people. I have to turn off the video to tell you about it. So watch. The squares disappear, but what's happening with those circles? They're what? Why are they staying inside? Because the cells absorb it and what? They do think it's useful, but is it? No, they're actually not useful because the circles signify mistakes. You know, like Homeboy's crazy grandma with like 38,000 elephants. Like, lady, quit it. You're paying rent for trash. Which means effectively she's buying trash over and over. You should tell her grandma, just give me a bigger inheritance, move into a little apartment, and throw away your elephants now. You're never going to use them. But you try having that argument with your grandmother. I don't think it's going to go well. First vocabulary term you all need to know in number 52 is bioaccumulation is when our cells keep stuff by accident. They're cell level hoarders. Stupid. Just like Serena, what was the hoarding? Was it not yours? Was it someone else's? Was it Ariana's? Yeah, like Ariana was talking about Adriana was talking about Black Santas. Yeah, like Black Santas. Like, fine, you like having those around, but you know it's not useful, right? You think that's useful, but you know it's not useful, right? Some don't know anything. They're just like, oh yeah, this looks awesome. And like those circles, they just pile up. They're not going to do you any good. As soon as you're done writing down that definition, take out your wallet, please. What's up, Cable Scholars? So nice to see you. Good morning. Somebody forgot it was Monday. Do you have great tragedy that you sent us to? You just figured it was Monday? Hell yeah. All right, Kate. Everybody take out your wallet. And now, please look in your wallet to see if there's anything legally or personally incriminating that you'll need to remove out of your wallet. We all have our secrets, but make sure that your wallet doesn't put either of us into an awkward situation, is what I'm saying. I'm giving you fair warning. Let the record show I warned you to take any personally compromising secrets out of your wallet.
Do you say this because you found upstairs and stuff before?
What's the worst? What's the most common?
Well, a lot of students feel bashful about having condoms in their wallets. A, that's not a good way to store your condoms. B, there's nothing to be ashamed of. But I guess it does suggest that you consider sex a possibility, which for some of you is not a fair risk assessment. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I don't care. I've never really, I don't think I've ever found it. Kids are always bashful. When I read from somebody's wallet, they're like, no. I'm like, oh, bro, all right, sorry, maybe not. So I'm trying to get the warning out of the way. But don't worry, your secrets are safe with me. It's all good. I don't care. I'm a mandated reporter, but as long as nobody's being hurt, we're fine. All right. I asked you to take out your wallet because I got to tell you a story. Most of you don't realize that being a teacher is actually like sort of depressing. Teachers have a lot of bad habits. We're also broke because many of our salaries aren't scaled to the communities where we live. So I can't purchase a house in Santa Barbara. Like I can't afford to live here. Not because I'm bad with my money, maybe I am, but like the best loan I could qualify for is about half the price of a Santa Barbara house. So it would take me 30 years to buy half a house. And banks don't give like 200-year loans that I would need to buy a house. I'll be dead in 200 years, so I realize that. So it's kind of depressing. And like many of my colleagues, we resort to stealing from our students. You ever notice how much kids like lose their wallets when they're in high school? Or like, oh, someone stole my backpack? It's not a mystery. I know exactly who stole your backpack. It was either Mr. Williams or Mr. Carmian or me. When the kids aren't looking, you know, it's normal to forget all your stuff. You don't have a lot of practice carrying stuff around. Are you from Australia?
What?
Are you from Australia?
No,
That's right. Many of us, when we get the opportunity, we take your stuff. Really, I'm not like, it's a hard job, you know. We got to make ends meet somehow. You know, we all have our bad habits. So I always keep my eyes open. You know, somebody goes to the bathroom, nobody's looking. Somebody's like, yo, can I drop my backpack off in here? It's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they drop their stuff off and like, all right.
His life must be loaded. All the stuff in the backpack.
See what I'm saying? You ever wonder? She's got like 3 kids. Isn't her husband also a teacher? There's no way they're living in Santa Barbara on their income. Checkmate. Prove it in the pudding. You can't afford to live here. 3 kids? No chance. But you all know how she's making her money. So, you know, I got my bad habits. Tonight, this will buy me like a half bottle of whiskey. Right? I can drink a half bottle at a night. Whenever I steal the kids' wallets, I kind of think of it like, if this was my wallet, you know, like, man, I don't really need like a YMCA membership. Obviously. But cash is useful. I'll take that. You know, by the other half of the bottle of whiskey. No, don't be confused. You understand exactly what's happening here. Whatever's useful, I'm gonna take it out of here. You ever notice that when you go to the lost and found, somebody returns your wallet, but like all the good stuff is gone? You had a realtor? Looks like
No, that was old. I took that picture when I was like 5.
that's you?
No, I took a picture when I was like 5 or something.
Oh. You have to take this as real part of it. You know what I'm talking about?
It should be Fitz and Buckman or 70 or
Sorry, kids, I'm having a really engaging conversation. Yeah, that. You gonna still take this?
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's what I asked you. So, you kind of real.
You used to be.
Tonight, I might use this cash to seek the companionship of a paid professional. To buy a hotel room to sleep off all that whiskey from yesterday. Maybe to buy some chocolates to apologize to my wife that I will then eat myself. But you'll notice that when I was picking through the wallets of the children, I've also been keeping their credit cards, just in case. The cash that I take, that was a good choice. Because from each of these kids, I'm getting basically a half bottle of whiskey, or like 15 minutes of companionship. Credit cards, though, on the other hand, not as useful.
You can catch him as a swagger.
So what now?
You can catch him as a swagger.
I know, right? Modern era. You all realize, though, when I go to the liquor store and try to buy my whiskey with the credit card, I said, "Y'all take plastic?" And they say, "Sure, we do, Miss Scrivener. I just need to see your ID." And I'm like, "Sorry, I left it in the car. I'll be right back." Or when I go to the florist, they're like, "Okay, Mr. Takus, sure, yeah, you can pay with Visa here. We just need to see your ID." Oh yeah, sorry, but I realize I don't need your phone anymore. Or I go to like a chocolate joint, buy my wife some polish chocolates that I'm gonna eat. They're like, "Yeah, sure, Mr. Croach, I'll just, oh, sorry, yeah, that's not that. At the end of the school year, obviously I got no money. And at the end of the school year, I spent her money and his money and his money. But what happened to their credit cards? They weren't really useful. I just thought that they might be. So their credit cards, on top of all the other credit cards of all the other kids from the school year, I've got like a whole crap ton of credit cards. Y'all realize that? First of all, does everybody see that I have metabolically used up? I've spent the cash, I've written squares, but I've accumulated because I mistakenly thought they would be useful, but they turned out not to be. A whole bunch of cards. Agreed? So far, everybody good? Yeah? Okay. Most of you have like 2 cards in each of your wallets. And by the way, you have on average $18 in your wallets. Right? In the course of the school year, let's imagine I'll meet 180 of you. One a day. Well, I only work about 160. Everybody good with that? This cash comes up to me and I spend it. These cards, they come up to me and I don't spend them. Can't do anything with them. But I keep them. Because I'm not very smart. I think it might be useful someday. So I've got like 320 cards sitting in my wallet. Everybody agree with that? So far, so good? Am I moving on? Like I mentioned earlier, this isn't just me. Mr. Carmian does this. Dan Williams does this. He's got even more bad habits than I do. Mr. Dodson, oh my God. That man, so many bad habits. He does this. We all steal from children. We all think their cards are useful. We all cannot use the cards, so they just pile up. Y'all know about Mr. Vecchio, right? Man, that guy's got problems. So many bad habits. This is like a shell game. He's just lying from one to cheat the other to keep the other one floating. Y'all know about that, right? Y'all get that vibe from him? Many bad habits. Everybody really is kidding, right? Please look at me fine. So, that guy, he pickpockets from the teachers. He pickpockets from the teachers. When Mr. Vecchio steals my wallet, check this out. Hey, look, my wallet says JC on it. I pickpocketed Jesus Christ. So, Mr. Vecchio steals my wallet. He'll dispose of the evidence. He was a teacher once too, so he's got the same mistaken behaviors. He will take that cash and he'll use that for his nighttime liquor or whatever he's going to do. Right? And then he's going to take all of the Jose cards and he's going to hold on to those. Agreed? Tomorrow, he'll pickpocket Mr. Dodson, spend that money, dispose of the rest of the evidence, and, you know, he's going to keep all of Mr. Dodson's. Let's just pretend that these are credit cards, please. Everybody good with that? Can I pretend those are credit cards? Then on Wednesday, he's going to find Dan Williams' wallet, spend all Dan Williams' money, keep all Dan Williams' credit cards. Silly pickpockets. What's going to happen in the course of a school year at the principal level? How many credit cards do you think he's going to end up with if he steals a wallet every day? Yeah, 320 times 160, which is like 512 with 4 zeros or something. Is that right? Fun? I mean, do the math real quick. I'm going to use this sample every time. Yeah, 320 times 160. Then he goes to a meeting at the school district, and our superintendent, Dr. David Cash.
51,200. It's like a good lump sum.
Is anybody else impressed that I got the 512 right?
Pretty smart, man.
Kids are really hard to impress these days. I just freaking styled that. Like, oh, you're up with 2 zeros. You know, that Dave Cash guy, our retiring superintendent, he's got bad habits, you know, Cash style. Johnny Cash.
It's related.
Obviously, all the Cashes. So he's going to end up with a whole bunch of credit cards, and then if he goes to some state level meeting, then does everybody notice how the concentration of credit cards goes up? Because sugar doesn't go up, they spend that. It's not like I had more cash in my wallet. You all notice how much cash I had in my wallet? That was like $18 too. Oh, I'm a little bit bigger, so I guess I've got like $40 maybe, 35. Yeah, I got like. $36, twice 18. Okay. But you know, cash spends, and then he spends cash, and then they spend cash. The cash isn't really growing, but look at how much the credit cards are growing. Everybody see that? Watch this. Why does the orange fish have so many little dots? Because what? So eat the other fish.
This is bioaccumulation about
What do you think? That was bioaccumulation. This is bioaccumulation and now magnification. Where did that big orange fish go? So where does that hook lead? At least to me. What happens if I eat a whole bunch of those fish? What am I getting? What? A lot of those circles, right? If I eat fish every day, how many circles do I end up with when I die at the age of 39? Lots, right? I keep doing this because students are always like, yeah, I get it, bro. But then they don't get it, so let me try one more. There were these two doctors named blah, blah, blah Vaitico and blah, blah, blah Bodig. And there was this controversy where they were trying to protect the United States position in World War II. They were trying to protect the Navy base on Guam. The Navy hired them to make sure that we didn't lose that island. Anybody know why doctors were trying to save that island? What? What? Nope. There was a mystery disease, and so the natives were getting restless, so to speak. Look, everybody. That's the United States. We live right there. That's Hawaii. That's Guam. And that's Japan. You all know that one of the fronts during World War II, the Pacific Front, was Japan, right? We're trying to fight Japan. You guys all know that? Pearl Harbor. So you can see that Guam is in a pretty good strategic position for the U.S. to assault Japan, because we could get right next to Japan, one of their closest islands in the South Pacific, and then it was just a quick little hop, skip, and a jump to go bomb them or whatever. Guam is a Pacific island, and as you know, because of its ready supply of fresh water and relatively pleasant climate and conditions and plant diversity and so on, it was colonized by Polynesians early, and everybody who knows that I have a soft spot for Polynesians, right? Talk about that? I'll do this really fast, watch. They were a seagoing people. They ate from the ocean. They had very familiar Polynesian traditions, some of which are actually still practiced today. It's sort of one of the few surviving Polynesian cultures. The ritualistic tattoo, ritualized warfare. They had a really beautiful calendar that was all based on observations of nature. So it was like the month where the dolphins all swim close to shore, and then the month when the whales are heading north or whatever. They had that ritualized sculpture. just like so many other Polynesians. They made these big flower pots on stands. How cool is that? Like so many Polynesian cultures, they were colonized during the mission era. And so their diet started to shift a little bit. They went from eating mostly seafood to eating food on land, but they kept one of their traditional foods. Most of their foods changed. And more white settlers started to move into the island. The diet of the Chamorro kept changing. They did keep some of their traditional celebration foods. Going back way before World War II, symptoms of this weird disease started to show up in the Chamorro Indians. And the disease was a lot like Parkinson's. It was like a nervous system collapse. So they started to have paralysis, and eventually the paralysis would stop their parasympathetic system. So like all the stuff on automatic would stop. So they would like lose the ability to speak, and then they would lose the ability to like swallow. And then their like breathing and heart rate would become erratic, and eventually they would die in bodies that weren't working anymore. And by the time of World War II, it was the leading cause of death among the Chamorro Indians. Even after World War II, it was the leading cause of death, especially healthy men, youngish men, which is really unusual. Please look up. This is not the age when men die of degenerative neurological diseases. You don't understand that, right? Like Parkinson's and stuff hits you when you're old. You know that? As more and more men were dying of this disease, the population started to get kind of angry. Like, hey, maybe all these Navy people are poisoning our food and water. Or maybe this is about those military tests they were doing on the nearby Marshall Islands. Or maybe something. And the Chamorro were starting to like be less friendly, be more hostile to the Americans that were using the island. And of course, the Americans needed that island so they could keep an eye on Japan. So everybody was freaking out, hired these couple of doctors to figure out what's going on. Apparently, it's all because of these. They're called flying foxes. Anybody seen a flying fox before? Big old bat, six foot wingspan sometimes. Common in many South Pacific islands, including the north of Australia. My friend Sam Sweet apparently found one on the side of the road, fixed up its wing. It became his pet, and it would wake him up every morning because it would fly into his open window in the apartment, and it would hit the ceiling fan and bounce off a wall and wake him up. They don't have echolocation. They don't hunt bugs. They're just like blind, stupid, like barely seeing bats.
Is that the biggest bat?
Mm-hmm. It's the biggest bat. What?
Are they just in there?
Well, they don't have to worry about it too much in nature because right as the sun is setting, they'll fly to a food item, eat all the fruit off a fruit tree, and right as the sun is rising, they'll fly back to their perch and they sleep all day.
Okay.
So during the daytime, they do this, and during the nighttime, they do that. You'll notice that bat is eating fruit, and anybody know what kind of stuff we put into fruits? Why do peaches taste so good? Why do peaches taste so good? Yeah, sugar and fat. Why do peaches have so much sugar and fat in them? No, they do that even before genetic modification. Peaches are more than a few years old. Genetic modification is not. What? Yes, it's a coating for the seed. Why would plants invest all that energy storage compound on seeds? Yeah, to get stuff to eat them, so animals will distribute them, right? So that fruit that the bat is eating has really high energy carbon compounds. You know, because carbon is useful. It's got a lot of sugar on there. This way the tree gets the bat to move the seeds around. You all understand that? Turns out that's what's killing people. Those trees live a really long time. And apparently they have a symbiotic bacteria that keeps bugs away from their roots. And that symbiotic bacteria makes a toxic chemical to keep bugs away. You know, symbiotic bacteria like nitrogen fixers. In this case, the symbiotic bacteria puts out a toxin that keeps away the bugs. That's good for the tree. Anybody see a problem? If you look at that image, you should see why. You should be able to answer this whole thing now. If not, you didn't actually learn from all the stuff I've been saying. You pointed at something. What? The what? Carbon hydrogen 3. What's that called? A methyl group? Why do you point at that? You're right, but what does that mean to you? Yeah, our cells, and so do the stupid plant, and so do the stupid bat. This is the toxin inside the bacterium that keeps away the bugs, and it's a methylated toxin. So check it out. Concentration in the bacteria is really low. The plant absorbs them, thinks it's useful, but can't use them. Y'all know where the plant's going to put the carbon compounds that it thinks is a sugar? Into the fruit. So look at the concentration inside of a bat that eats nothing but fruit. Can you all notice that that's a lot higher concentration? Do you see the picometers? Or picograms or whatever? Picograms? And then you know that tomorrow, one of the few foods that they kept was their traditional feast barbecue meat, the bat. Why do you think bros in their 25 to 40 year range would be the ones that are the sickest? They eat a lot of barbecue party food. Like which Americans eat the most cheeseburger? 25 to 40, right? Like, oh man, I was digging trenches all day. Give me 6 cheeseburgers. This is why the birds had the soft shells when DDT was being put into the water. Y'all hear the Rachel Carson Silent Spring? How many of you know what I'm talking about? Rachel Carson Silent Spring? Yeah, the DDT. Look at the concentration in the water. You can drink that water. 0.04 parts per million. That's 40 parts per billion. Human can drink that. Look at how high it is when you get up to the bird, 13.8. That's a lot more. Now we're getting kind of nasty. Look at this. In some birds, the concentration of DDT is 8.4 million times higher than it was in the water. Because everything in the food web keeps it, look, keeps it. See how it magnifies as you go up? Imagine the next step up. If you multiply this times 160, that's big, right? But what about the next step up? Like the Federal Department of Education chair? That guy? He's got a lot of credit cards in his pocket. Yeah.
So the whole thing is you say that the top is symbols get rid and
Yeah, that's right.
they eat into the road application.
That's right. So I'll give you the last example. Remember how we talked about how a bear needs like square miles of forest to make enough mice, to make enough snakes, to make enough raccoons, to make enough bear? Do you remember that conversation? Keep in mind something like a tuna fish. Tuna eats fish that 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 ate bugs that ate algae, right? So it takes like hundreds of square miles of ocean to make all that algae, right? What if all that algae is soaking up mercury from the atmosphere? And what if we are burning like 150 million years worth of dinosaurs at once? In 75 years, we've put like 170 million years of dinosaur into the atmosphere. That's a lot of mercury. Because every dinosaur had a little tiny bit of mercury, and that mercury made it into the fossil fuels, and we burn all those fossil fuels. Everybody understand that? The background rate of mercury in the atmosphere has skyrocketed. So imagine if every student now had like, 270,000 credit cards. By the time you get to the top of the educational food web, that's an astronomical amount, right? All of a sudden, tuna, they're not quite toxic to the tuna, but because we eat so much tuna, we can raise our concentration beyond the point of toxicity. You know why pregnant women aren't supposed to do that? Because they build an embryo with all the fats out of their body. They put all the mercury in the stupid baby.
not supposed to
Women
eat
aren't
tuna?
supposed to eat
Okay.
tuna. Pregnant women aren't supposed to eat. How many of you thought that was a pointless explanation? How many of you think you understand what I mean about biomagnification and bioaccumulation? All right, goodbye. Will you stop this?
No, yeah.